Hello, ladies and beautiful gents. Welcome back to the Dabble In Babble podcast with your ever so gracious host, Brian Avila Salazar. Wee, 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 explosion. I gotta really edit these videos things more. I gotta get a freaking intro song or something like that. But speaking of intro songs, or just music in general, last 2 weeks ago, I guess it was very heavily musical-ly. I went to, we had a little thing in my area called Porch Fest, which is, apparently it started in Ithaca, New York, and it's like a little event that it was organized, as like a community event where people would put up their houses, well, not sell them, but put up like hey, you can use this, you use my porch, basically. That's the literal use for it. And they would get local musicians, and they would play on the porches, and people would put out snacks, and it would just be a fun old time, very chill. And because I am in, oh my god, I just killed myself there. Because I am part of the NHS, or National Honor Society, in my school, I need to do volunteer hours, and so I decided it was either that or go to something called Celtic Fest. And considering I signed up to do that a little late, the only thing that was left to do was either get up really early in the morning to set everything up, or take away the trash. So I clearly chose the easier route of, I had two jobs actually. The first was was with the actual, I actually met other National Honor Society members, and what happened was apparently they set around like one specific porch. Okay, let me back a little bit. So the Porch Fest is on this place called College Hill, and I live right next to it, where I can walk to the College Hill. So I walked to it after a long arduous journey of not being killed by cars or ticks. So after that long arduous journey, I went to Porch Fest, and I didn't really know where it was. No one really did at the beginning because there weren't any signs posted or whatnot. And this was at the beginning of the festival, the whole facility. So not a lot of people around. There's already some at our little spot where there would eventually be later on an actual performer there. It was just a table for some cheerleaders or something like that, on a PTA probably table. A table that had for animal stuff, which is funny because I was walking there. There was a stray cat who was they were in front of a home in the little wooden fence, and against the wooden fence was just a gray cat, I think, just slowly strolling behind them. And as soon as I was walking past and looked at it, it just darted backwards. And so but another table that was there was my table, and that table was of the specifically NHS, and there were some 4 people were there already, 4 or 5 people were already there, and our job was one of my jobs was basically just to set the table, because we were giving out some donuts from a local bakery, and some apple cider, get really pumping up. This is a really hardcore event, guys. It's just high energy, and so that was one of my jobs. But eventually, sitting around after a while, and it was very early. It was from I believe it was from 3 to 7. No, okay, let me look this up real quick. I had it pulled up. Wait, I'm covering my keyboard. Okay, so it's from 4 hours. The thing went for 4 hours. I believe from 12 to 5 basically, but not really 5. It's really 1 to 4. Well, 1 to 5 actually, really thinking about it. 4-hour time period of the event actually taking place. Okay, that's what we're working with here. And we were at the very, very beginning, okay? And there were some early wanderers, the main problem was that people just didn't know where the fuck the actual festival was. We had no idea. We didn't know that our spot was just people thought is this just the Porch Festival? It's just this one porch. And the way it actually worked was there were multiple porches. The entire hill of College Hill was had some random spots where people would put the porches. It was all spread about, but we were just at one of them, and we didn't know that yet because we didn't have a map. And which is ironic if later on. But for now, I'm just sitting at this table with two other dudes, just seeing no one basically, and just fighting off wasps. That's really it. We took, it was free donuts, by the way. We weren't selling these. We were just free donuts and cider, just giving them out in the spirit of Porch Fest. And like we had two old women and like a girl who was like trying to get people to sign up to vote with like a sign on her backpack and whatnot. And she was like a political teacher, I believe, in like a college, or another guy was who came up, I think, around the same time she did. I don't know. Some politics were happening. The guy next to me apparently actually cared about it, and I just didn't, because like, first of all, I'm not old enough to vote, and second of all, I don't take political classes. Like I don't take gov, so I didn't know that. And like we only gave like 3 donuts away, but what kept happening was to say like eventually just 3 wasps kept bothering us. Like I was there for only like an hour, and like it was the worst thing ever, because it was just the wasps just kept going on the donuts, and like I had to swat them away when time. First of all, they're wasps. They're not like friendly bees. Bees you don't think bees are that friendly, but they don't sting. Wasps are aggressive. Wasps are fucking bastards. Okay, they'll kill you if they could. Okay, if wasps were human sized and actual people, they would be all of the serial killers. All the serial killers could identify as with wasps. Okay, wasps are terrible insects and deserve to be eradicated. And like so, they keep buzzing around us, and like they keep landing on the donuts and like taking chunks. I joked that like eventually no one's gonna come, and like one entire donut is just gonna be gone because so many wasps keep biting at the same donut, and like we're just trying to bat them away or just ignore them. And one of the wasps actually got stuck in like the glaze on the table. It was like a fly trap or something like that. It just got stuck on the table and was like that's its wings, by the way. I don't know why I like making that sound today, but yeah, it's just trying to fly away. I'm just like, that's what you get. You're gonna die now. You're gonna die. And so yeah, that was fun. Just sitting at a table with nothing to do. Not even the performance was there yet. The performer that went there was actually great, but it came a lot later. And so I didn't really see anything. So none of us saw anything. And eventually I just got tapped on the curl by like my superior, i.e. older student, just said, okay, you just go on this corner now. She didn't actually tell me where the corner was. She just said, oh, corner. And I had to ask her, like, where the hell do you want me? Like, you just said we're at the corner. We're in a residential district. Most of the areas are corners. You can describe most of the areas here as a corner. What the hell are you talking about? And so, like, she just pointed me to, like, oh, where that balloon is. And, like, I eventually went over there. And there was, like, a younger kid who was in middle school with just a broken arm. And he was out there with just a bucket, like an orphan. Like an orphan asking for super bread or something like that. He was out there with a bucket, and I had to hold a sign that said, like, free donuts, free cider, free the nipple. I don't know what was on the sign. I didn't read it. I didn't care. I was on the sign. And whenever I'm forced to do something like that, this is something weird about me. I'm not a dancer at all, or like just anyone who prefers like music. I'm not physically active in any way, but whenever I'm forced to like do something or like advertise something, like for a desk or tables at my college on my club fair, I always end up doing physical like just dances, but not like anything actually good or like structured. Like I was just holding this sign like this. It was a big old one of those big old wide signs you have for like a car wash, and I was just ducking my knees back and forth, like just going left and right, and like just shaking the sign. And like for no reason, I was just bored, and I just do it to entertain myself. And people like the cars are like, he's actually into it. He's trying to get people to sign. Like, no, I'm just bored. This is how I function on a functional level of just standing around, because I can't stand being still, which is just wonderful. Anyways, yeah. So me and this kid are just on the street corner, just holding this sign and shaking it about and just whatnot. People throwing change at us. People didn't actually throw change at us, but I was worried some guy would be coming back from the bank with like a fat old roll of quarters and be feeling generous because, I don't know, his stock's paid off finally. And he's gonna see the kid. He's like, hey kid, have these quarters. You just throw a fucking roll of quarters and bash his teeth out. That's what... I don't have very reasonable fears. I don't think anyone would do that. But, it's completely possible. Oh my god. I thought it was killing me. I really should not be doing this, but I didn't record it earlier, so this is what I get. Anyways, yeah, so I did that for a little while. Nothing really of note happened. Just me wiggling on the street corner like a moron and sitting around fending off wasps. After my hour was up there, however, I went to my second job, which was map distributor. Haha. And so I went to like just down the street. There was a church, and I just walked up to there, and like just a woman on the side of the church. Like people already were like outside talking, and so I just this woman on like a stool outside the church, and like it's not a big church, is that at all? It's like, you know, a normal size. It's like a house-sized church at like in like elevation. It's not one of those like big old high churches. It's just a normal church. It's made out of stone and whatnot. I think it was Presbyterian. I don't know. They don't eat fish there, I guess. I don't know. I don't know religion. But anyways, so I go into this church, you know, drop off my sign before saying like, you fucking work the corner now, bitch, and just dropped them off, left them, and then like at the side of the church, it's just this woman like talking to like a guy and his daughter or something like that, or maybe with a dog. I don't know. She's just standing at the side of the church, looking weird. Like it's not like the church had an alleyway. It's just like it looks shady, as in like there's just a back door to the church, and like you can't see down the door, and like the alleyway just leads to nowhere. It just leads to like the back of another home, which is fenced off, so it just looks shady. But I don't know. I went to this lady, and I was like, "Hey, I'm here to do this thing." And it's like, "Oh yeah, wonderful." She I think she didn't say many uhs, but she was very clearly busy with many other things, and so like she was just not in the mood to focus, or just didn't have the mental capacity to focus on anything. It's like, "Oh yeah, and another girl came up and was like, "Hey," another guy, actually this was the guy with his daughter. It's like, "Hey, we're doing the same thing as well." I was like, "Oh great, here, you take these papers to the north side of the hill, and to me," she said, "now you cover the south side, just around these streets, go out." So my job, basically for the afternoon of my Sunday or Saturday, I believe it was a Saturday. My Saturday, it was just walk around and enjoy the festivities. Now I grew up in the digital age, so I don't know how to read maps very well, but I figured it out very soon. It's not that hard. So my job was just to walk around where it was already like a printout digital map, but like with the markers all set, like it had like a schedule on it, and like the performance would happen like every hour. So like for like the first hour, these areas would have these performers, and then for the second hour, those porches would be like unoccupied, and then like they would have new porches would prop up with new performers and whatnot, or some would just switch out. You know, it was that sort of thing, and my job was just to walk around to see anyone who was like looking out, and it was like, "Hello, you need maps?" Hold on, my brother's talking to me. Anyways, back to me being a creeper. So yeah, I was really just walking down the streets aimlessly. Like she didn't tell me anywhere to go. Like, "Oh, you know, check, you know, hit these spots in this order, whatnot." She just said, "Oh, these are the spots. Cover this area and just walk around." And so now I'm just walking around the streets of, well, they're not dangerous streets by any means of the word, but you know, I'm just walking around the streets randomly, and like just saying like, "Oh yeah, do you need maps? I got maps." Maps. I'm the map. I literally am the map at this point, because people had no idea what was going on at the beginning. Like people were like trying, like some people who actually saw it was like, "Where do we?" This is when I was back at the table, even giving them out the donuts. People were like, "So where is Porches at all?" Like, and like with that knowledge, I could probably say, "It's all around us, man. It's just a feeling. It's just a feeling." You know, some hippie bullshit like that. But yeah, now I was actually giving people directions, which is kind of like the blind leading the blind, because I had no idea how to find my way around the streets, because I didn't walk around them a lot. I don't live there. So if like I couldn't tell, like gauge at all distance, I just went around to the porch events and like gave out maps. And this of course leads to me discussing like the actual music events. Well, musicians. That's the fucking word on it, isn't it? So the first guy I meet, But the first guy I saw was a fucking bagpipe player. Literally just a bagpipe player. It was just a guy playing the bagpipes in like full Scottish regalia. He had a kilt. He had like he had like a suit on with a hat and everything. He had like he had a skiing do, which is a small like dagger in his like sock. Actually, let's see if I can find his card. I can't find it, but he legitimately did give me his card later on. But right now, in the early process, I was just walking around, and like the lady said, like, oh, don't be afraid to like sit down and enjoy the neighborhood, the event itself, which it was a fine event, It was well, that was the first guy who was just doing the bagpipes. He was doing a cracking job at the bagpipes, I must say. I'll get back to him later because I have an interesting story with him. And so I go out there and like most of these places have like free snacks. Like the bagpipes guy had like some cookies out there with like water and whatnot, and I had nothing to drink. I had no money on me because I didn't think I needed it. So I just actually no, I did have money on me, but I didn't know like if I was gonna spend it or not. I was thinking like, oh, I'm just gonna go to the nearby Wawa if I need to. But I'm just gonna go out and but apparently just going out, I'm gonna just binge off these free snacks. It's like wonderful. I'm working. Okay, I deserve this. It's just stupid, it's selfish. But anyways, that was my first event. I went around to a couple few. There was eventually like a friggin' like literally a drum circle. Like this group of just like friggin' like midlife crisis divorced parents, just all in black t-shirts with like their group name, just in a circle, banging on drums and whatnot. And that was weird. That happened later though. There was this one nice thing of a guy on a cello. There's another one of a guy. When I actually came back around to where I was selling the donuts version, but still going on maps, there was a guy with with like a drum and a harmonica and like some backing up bass. I think it was. It was a really nice event. These were not just old guys and like screaming teenagers, just like venting out their frustrations with life as I thought it would be. It was actually like genuine musicians. Like the bagpipes guy was genuine, like he served in the armed forces as like the bagpipes guy and like all that jazz. And he was really smart. And there was this one group, Central City Drive. That was their name. I tried to find. I want to bring them up because they were really, really good. I have I'm gonna put a time code for myself here, but I'm gonna insert now a video I took of them. That'll probably take 3 minutes of just them performing in this really. The clouds are shrouding us in moments unforgettable. You twist and fit the mold that I am in. But things get so crazy, baby, life gets hard to do. But I would gladly hit the road, get up and go if I knew that someday it would lead me back to you. That someday it would lead me back to you. That may be all I need, and I know she is all I see. Now come and rest your bones with me, driving slow on Sunday morning, and I never want to leave. Now picture streets show every outline. Oh yeah, yeah. Paint a picture with my hands. Oh, oh, oh. Now back and forth we swear like branches in the storm. Still together with the weather when it ends. That may be all I need, and I know she is all I see. Now come and rest your bones with me, driving slow on Sunday morning, and I never want to leave. Oh, yeah, 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 but things get so crazy, baby, life gets hard to do. Sunday morning good. You like that? You like that jazz? You like that music? Because I like that music. It's a very good music. It's a very, very good. So anyways, I am, so anyways, yeah, I saw those guys. And at that point, in that, I was just, like, basically done. Because after, like, halfway through my shifts, I took 4 of them because I had nothing else to do that day. So I took, like, 4 shifts. Yeah, I took 4 shifts. No, I took 3, technically. Yeah, I took 3 shifts. And basically my job was done by, like, my second shift. Because at this point, everyone, like, realized, like, what the thing was. And, like, I guess other map shapers were working their magic. And some places actually had maps already, like, some of the porches that had musicians already had maps on it. I was basically there refilling maps. And so by, like, the halfway point, I was, like, people didn't need maps anymore. So I'm just walking around, you know, and I was just enjoying, you know, the sounds and whatnot. I really wish I could, like, give out a social media thing to Central City Drive with those guys, because if someone can find it, that'd be great, because it's a really nice band. There was there were guys, all those guys were, like, going to a local college, I think, like, Coming, or, like, something like that, you know, just some like, local college part of the music, like, they were part of the, like, the music department there, and they're just really good and, like, really fun, and, like, they had their own songs, and, like, oh my god, it was great, you know. I don't know, I forget which song, but it's just, I don't even know. The guys are just great. I wish, there was also another notable artist, was, like, a guy, well, it was 2 dudes, one with a guitar and one with, like, a trumpet. Like, it was just a trumpet. And it was weird. Like, it was a weird, like, just combination of brass instruments, a brass and, like, a bass. But it was actually very nice. It created a very jingly tune. I only recorded that thing because it was so good. It was so, like, full of energy. But the entire area was just, like, it was, like, also, it was just, as you can tell from the video, a beautiful day. Like, really good, nice day to just walk around. I've probably only gone out for an hour, just, you know, walking around, you know, my local area. But it was a really nice day. And I just got scared because my phone vibrated and it sounded like a wasp, and I thought the wasps came here hearing me talk shit about them, and they were coming to attack me or something. Well, no, it was just my phone, my mom telling me to charge her iPad. Oh my god, that really scared the shit out of me. Oh my god. Anyways, yeah, that was really a Central City Drive, Porch Fest, which the entire atmosphere was great. I kind of like in where I live, you know, in Easton and whatnot. It was just, I don't know why, but I don't know why people ever want to go anywhere else, because it's like, it's such a unique thing we have here of, like, just, it was like, I always say this, it's like, we're like, where we are geographically is like the northeast area, the western, like, which is basically New York. We have the east, which is, you know, New Jersey. We have the south, which is the south. And then we have the east, which is, like, weird Amish Pennsylvania. And, like, weird old values there. And, like, I guess the west and the south can be combined in one conglomerate, because the middle of Pennsylvania is basically Alabama. Not that Alabama, but, you know, it's a little southern. The demolition derby is held there. And and, like, Easton, and all those, like, circles, and if you made a Venn diagram of, like, those areas of, like, people and influence, in the middle, like, they barely overlap, but where they overlap, the one pixel that they do on this digital chart is the city of Easton. And, like, I love it for that, because there's just so many different people. Like, we got like, kids my age are, like, super liberal, dye their hair and all that, gay. And then we got gun-toting Americans with the burying their gold and their guns, and the Obama is the devil, all that jazz. I know that guy, he lives next to me. Like, and I know the super libtard people. I know all of these stereotypes, and it's great. I don't know why anyone else would want to move to, like, California or anywhere else. This place is wonderful. I really love that whole, like, even though it's, like, super varied and whatnot, people can still, like, just get down and jam at, like, a thing like Porch Fest, or a thing like Bacon Fest that we have also. if you're wondering what Bacon Fest is, it's literally just people putting bacon on food that does not deserve bacon, but it is there anyways because this is America, goddammit. Which, to be honest, is the greatest thing ever. Like, we have Garlic Fest as well, which is just garlic. And so, like, it's just, which is like, I like how we have like Bacon Fest, which is, I just realized this now when I'm thinking about it. We have the super like artsy, like, I got an album from like some people called the Pfeiffer Twins that, like, you know, they do like covers and whatnot. And like they're like two girls, or two women actually, who do like really solid vocals and whatnot. And like was really arts and crafty at like it was, you know, I went there once to the Poconos Mountains, and like people were like selling like organic honey and like garlic and whatnot. They had a petting zoo and whatnot. And it was nice, you know, but it's kind of, you know, it's not really artsy fartsy at all. I kind of like see it that way. And then we have a place called Bacon Fest, which is like, hey, you want a pound of sausage? Just a pound sausage, but wrapped in another pound of bacon. That in like a hero roll that's also wrapped in bacon. that's literally it. There's a drink. There's like a drink truck. I say drink because basically it's a soda stream. That's like, you know, like sponsored by the fire department. Will give you like the metal tin glasses that you can refill for free. And like it's super cool, and like music. There's also music there, and like it's just a good sense of community here, and I don't see why people would ever want to leave here, because it's hard to really get that, I guess, you know, especially with the everything being online and whatnot. It's kind of hard, you know, for me. I see like the most problem people have nowadays is just the lack of being genuine. Like there's a scarcity. It's no longer like nice. It's no longer cool to be genuine. I guess it was never cool to be genuine, but like just like social media, like artifice and whatnot, and like it's so much like, I don't really know, but like to have something like, because on the internet, when I go on like social media apps, people was like, oh man, like post like pictures of like, I wish my friends were here, and like they're all on the internet, and like it's all so sad and whatnot. And like I guess, you know, I mean I'm kind of in the same boat, because I'm now talking to this girl I haven't talked to for a while, because she, you know, kind of went offline. She lives in California, and we did, you know, we talked a lot, and like we're kind of, I guess, lost soulmates in a way. I don't know, but we're friends. I just recently reconnected her through crappy like YouTube now has like messaging, and it's weird. I'm not gonna get into it, but yeah, it's like, so that I understand the power of that, but like too often times we like just we're too absorbed in that, to where we can see like the entire world outside our window passes by, and like we end up just going out because we have to, which is, you know, just to live, go to school, get a job. Like we just become more and more miserable by that. And like to have a place, my place where I live, to have events and like just where we can just go out and like people you don't know and just say hi and just talk. I talked to so many people at Porch Fest and just discussed anything, discuss the weather, discuss how nice. I saw a guy like walking who was like college age. He was like, he just woke up in like 2 o'clock in the morning. I was walking down, giving him maps, like, oh, what's this for? And he's like, oh yeah, it's for this thing. He's like, I didn't know this was going on. This is really cool. When can I put it at my house? And I gave him like the lady's email, and like a guy who like genuinely didn't know what was going on saw it and thought like, oh, that's cool. How can I be involved? Like immediately. And that was like, this was a really cool thing we have here, and like why everyone else, anyone in the world will want to leave it is just stupid. Like we have, you know, we have community days, we have a Ferris wheel, for Christ's sake, we have just, it's just a beautiful place, and I don't see. I mean, I guess I can see why people want to see it. You know, not really a lot of, you know, opportunities if you're creative, which is kind of like what I'm concerned with. But even then, like, this is a great town, and I don't care what anyone says. It's a great town. Great town. So, anyways, yeah, that's I got my spiel on discussion with well, actually no, I'm not done with Porch Fest, yes, because I'm back to that bagpipes guy that I was mentioning earlier. So I eventually went around, you know, walked around. I went around my same area like twice around, and on my way back, you know, the second time, I met up, and like the bagpipes guy was like closing up his like last performance. There was only like one person there, so he was just playing to one crowd, which I guess if I was ever to actually do it for whatever reason, if it let me do stand up for an hour, which would probably be really bad. I don't know, if I learn an instrument like the harmonica or something like that, I would definitely do it if I got to play the harmonica. I would learn harmonica just to just just to do that, because it'd be really cool. But yeah. Anyway, so with the bagpipe guy is wrapping up, and like I'm sitting there enjoying it because I'm like I said, my job was basically done at this point. I was out of maps. I was like walking around and I ran out of maps, and like I went back to the church and the lady wasn't there, so I just went, okay, well I guess I'm just gonna walk around now. And so I'm walking around and like I see the bagpipes guy, I sit down, listen to his last performance, and like I just strike up a conversation. It's like, hey, what's that thing on your leg? The skiing do, which I knew what it was, because if you know Mikey Bolts, well not Mikey Bolts, or like I don't know, like learn things fast guy, that guy. He made a skiing do with like Alex Steele, who's like he's like a blacksmith YouTuber. And Mike Bill's also a YouTuber, so like his entire shtick is like learning things fast, and so he teamed up with this other YouTuber, and like he was getting married to his girl, and like he made a skiing do for the wedding, and like, oh, that's what it is, that's a cool thing. And I saw that, and I knew what it was. I was pretty sure, but I didn't want to assume anything, and so I asked anyways, even though I was like 100% sure I knew what it was, but like I still like just asked just because, just start a conversation, because he was like wrapping up and getting ready to leave and whatnot. And so I'm just going. So I'm just talking to this guy now, and like we're discussing like, because I never actually seen like real life bagpipes before. Like I've seen them before, but I've never seen like up close and personal with a bagpipe. And so I get to see it, and like I'm seeing like all the things, and he explained to me like the history of the bagpipes and how like bagpipes apparently actually started really early on in like Egypt and whatnot. Like bagpipes were like, they're like statues of like people with bagpipes, or like hieroglyphs, something like that, artifacts of people with bagpipes in Egypt even. And like that was the culture there of like, it was like, because the sound is very like that the whole windy thing comes from like Middle Eastern area, with the whole flutes and whatnot, so you can hear that same sound. But after the Romans came about, with Carthage and whatnot, Romans taking over Carthage, that eventually spread about throughout the Roman Empire. And so that eventually it landed up in Scotland, because you may not realize, I'm like, wait a minute. So the bagpipes are now associated with Scotland, but you're telling me they're in Egypt? The fuck? So anyways, yeah. So this is basically how the bagpipes got into Scotland, is because, like I said, Egyptians created it. Carthage was eventually happened in the area of Egypt, so they probably had the instrument still on hand. The Romans come in and like bash all the people, conquer and like do what Romans do best, build roads to connect the entire empire, and so they spread around the culture. And the bagpipes eventually spread. And as you know, if you do know your history, the Romans went into the Isle of Britannia, i.e. Britain nowadays, and they were stopped at Hadrian's Wall. None of you probably know this, I'm just being a huge fucking nerd, history nerd. But it was fun, because the guy also there was a huge history nerd, the bagpipes guy. And so we're just discussing this, how like the bagpipes were like, basically the Romans were like, stopped at Hadrian's Wall and whatnot. And like as the Roman Empire fell, the bagpipes sort of like fell out of favor. But basically the Scottish, who fended off the Romans, basically saw as the bagpipes as like a trophy, and so they kept it. And they realized that the bagpipes are actually good for herding things like sheep, actually. That is a good herding tool, because instead of like yelling out, you can like use like the bagpipes to actually communicate, and that's why it was popular there. And while it fell out like favor everywhere else and was discontinued, basically, it was like now kept up in Scotland, and that's why it was resonated there. And that's a history lesson for you. I'm just giving out history all day, every day. Today's been very history heavy, because I went to history class today, and I had to explain. Well, I chose to like explain the story of the Buddha in probably way more detail than was needed. I went to a whole spiel of like, oh yeah, he was a prince who was destined to be either an emperor or a religious man. His father, didn't want to be the emperor, so he like shielded him from everything. One day he walks out, sees a dying guy, old guy, and sick guy. When he's like, oh no, suffering, sad, and like goes out, starves himself a little bit, and like, oh no, I don't have the answers. Go into his tree, meditate for 3 days. Oh yeah, I found the answer. Have I mentioned before that there's like a whole fucking cosmic battle in the Buddha's mind? I feel like I did. But like there's a whole cosmic battle that happens in the Buddhist text that we don't really learn about. For good reason, because it's fucking bonkers, but if you're ever interested, read up on that. Anyways, off of history and back to the Bagpipes guy. So we're discussing this, and some of the conversation turns to like politics, I guess. Because this is the whole this is like during the whole hearing thing of like Brett Kavanaugh being accused and whatnot, and like being taken, not yet taken, the yeah, actually no, we were hearing the hearings, yeah, we were on the hearings. So I was actually on history. In history, we were like watching the hearing on like CNN or something like that. Not because of any bias, because we were just like watching the stream. And it's because the history teacher like was smart enough to realize like this is gonna be talked about for like forever afterwards. Like this is a really big moment. You guys should watch it. And we watched it for like 5 minutes before getting to our lesson. But like it was cool to see like the history teacher realizing like it was super big moment in history. And it was also funny because the other history teacher who also does AP, but like for 10th graders, during 9/11, people were like watching it, and he like turned off the TV and said like, don't worry. Like he didn't say like don't worry about it, but like he just turned off the TV, and like he can forever be known as the history teacher who stopped students from seeing 9/11 as it happened, which is just funny and horrific in a similar sense, which is, oh my god, that's funny, but well, not really funny because the whole 9/11 thing, but you get what I'm saying. Anyways, yeah, we're talking about that, and like we're just having like a all of a sudden deep discussion about politics. I ended up just walking with him back to his car. Well, not his car, it was his son's car, which leads to another funny moment where we're talking about like he compliments me on like, we were just talking about how like the whole thing shebang going down. 'Cause I think we were talking about like Roman Empire. Actually no, I know how we got a segue because we were talking about how the Roman Empire was like like super expansive. People don't really realize it, and like talking about like all the things left over from democracy. Like the Roman republics is what we have basically now with the whole Senate hearing. That's how we transitioned to it. Like the whole like Senate hearing thing is like something we stole. We didn't steal, but like we adopted from the Romans, and like it was really cool to see that. And that's how we ended up going to. Apparently, the Bagpipes guy actually worked at Capitol Hill. Like he was in the White House during Reagan era, and like he was like in talks with people. Like he was seriously like just an actual like politician once before in previous life, I guess. But like that's how we got on that topic, and we're talking about like how it doesn't really matter that if Brett Kavanaugh was proven innocent or guilty, which now, at the time of recording this on Friday, which I'm going to say I upload it, it is proven that at least he's said like he's confirmed for it. But like we were talking about how it really doesn't matter because he was like, just if you didn't realize, he was if you actually see his hearing, he was like super like emotional, and like he was like discussing like how if this like you're a judge going into like a permanent position in government where you have so much leeway on deciding how the country is run. It's like, and the guy was basically saying like how you're just gonna be so emotional, like so erratic at a time of like great stress is not professional. Like you're not showing it for the job. Like we were stressing at that point more than anything after like the whole situation, which it's too fuzzy for me to even go into because I'm not fucking prepared. I'm not meant to be prepared, or I'm educated enough to deal with that shit. But yeah, we're going into that, and like we're talking about all that in the car, and like he complimented me on like some basic stuff, like, oh yeah, you're actually very intelligent for your age, and people like I'm level-headed, which I always find funny. I end up always getting into political conversation with people, or like just discussing history in general. People will say like how I'm always like level-headed, which anyone who actually knows me will find that very, very funny, because I'm not level-headed at all in most situations. But yeah, it was nice talking to him, and we're not done with talking to him yet, because we were talking about all this and walking to his car, getting ready. And he was trying to open it was his son's car, so he didn't really know how it worked. And the car is like right next to like another porch performance going on. Like they're in the middle of this porch performance, and like he started opening the car, and he eventually just he opens the car with a key, and and the fucking car alarm just starts blaring out, and like the porch phone is like right next to us, so I'm just he's struggling to like get it off now, like with the whole like dialing wrench. He just turns on the car to stop it, but like it's just super bad. And like we discuss it more and more, and like he compliments me. He's like, really smart for your age. Are you in high school? Like, are you in college? Like, no, I'm just in high school. Just doing a weekend. Like, I have a Facebook group that we have a guy that discusses items like this for politics and whatnot. He is a really left leaning, but I think you'll enjoy it anyways, because you're very level headed and you have a good head on your shoulders, basically. And he gave me his card, and afterwards, like 2 days afterwards, I eventually messaged him on Facebook. First, I had to create a fucking Facebook account, because I really just like the guy, and so I messaged him on Facebook. It's like I just joined the group, and I'm apparently like I'm a rare exception. First of all, I think he misunderstood my age. I'm only a junior, but I think he told the guy I was a senior and thought like could drive and whatnot. Because when I messaged the guy who like had the Facebook group, he was like, oh yeah, why don't you drive over to to New York, because he's apparently stationed in New York, and like I can't, because I can't drive, but I'm also, he was like, the guy on Facebook was like basically I don't usually do this because I usually like to meet my people who I add in person, but on the recommendation of Bagpipes dude, I'm gonna make an exception for you. Here's the rules and whatnot. It's like no swearing and like prove evidence and whatnot. He's a really leftist guy, but like it's fine because I don't really care. I just find it kind of cool that I was like invited to like an intellectual group. First of all, like I'm not a group of like actual like the guy who owns the Facebook group is like works at a college, like Cornell of all colleges, like actual Cornell, and like I'm invited to his Facebook group of politics, which is like sweet, even though he's like left leaning, which I don't really care about. It doesn't really matter to me. All I care about is like, yay, I'm actually personally, like, I'm recognized for intelligence somewhat. I'm actually intelligent. Hey, I have proof. Look at me. And yeah, that was really cool. And I guess, just talking to the guys, like, oh yeah, I'm glad you followed up and whatnot, and like gave me, the guy's name and whatnot. It's just, I don't know. There's not really end to that, but it's just kind of like, I haven't participated yet. I just kind of look at it once in a while. I don't really use Facebook at all, so I guess it's kind of really me porn, but I can just say that I'm like, hey, I actually did this thing, and like, it's really cool, I guess. Being recognized as being somewhat level-headed, even though I'm a fucking crazy person. Everyone says I'm a crazy person, I act like a goddamn crazy person. So I guess it's cool to like be a part of something bigger than I am in an intellectual sense. I guess the reason I'm able to do that, talk to adults easier than I can people my own age, because I always I always hung out with adults like my entire life, and like because I actually like history. I like learning. Well, not that saying other people don't learn, but I like probably learning a lot more than other people do. Like I can just go off just like, hey, this weird thing happened in like this area. And like I look it up, like those things on like Instagram. It's like, oh yeah, this guy was a murderer or whatnot. I was like this guy like this girl did this weird thing, and like I'll just look up all the history of the event basically, and just go down a fucking rabbit hole of history. I really like that. Sorry, I have a dry throat today, so there's gonna be a lot of water ASMR. Oh my god. So anyways, yeah, that was a nice thing. Speaking of, I get back on the topic of like being genuine and whatnot, and like actually like, because you're not gonna get that place somewhere else. Like people in like California or like New York cities that be like so hostile, you wouldn't really have the time to ever even talk in the first place. So that's really nice to what I like about here. But on the topic of like being genuine, I found out a new artist, a musician. I use that in heavy quotes. You may have seen ads on YouTube, but Hobo Johnson is a musician rising up in the sphere of I guess he's getting more and more popular because he had an ad on YouTube and I went around, and it was like for a song like to his dad. I forget what it's called, but yeah, it's called Dear Dad actually. And he's just, look him up right now and like listen to his music. It's so weird. Like like he has this very awkward delivery, and his vocals aren't really impressive per se. But it's like the way he blends like happy sounding music, but really stark, poetic, and just depressing lyrics of like the song "Dear Dad." Like it has like it goes into like with an upbeat with a basically up tempo beat of like guitars and like whatnot, and like actually like it sounds like a happy song. And the guy's talking about how like his dad's saying like you can never become a basketball player, and like we know like you have mental problems, and like he goes on later in the song to describe his mother as like a shape-shifting monster who's like sometimes really nice, and like that's terrifying to him, and like nicotine until you sleep forever, and like it's super depressing and interesting. And like I'm listening to the rest of it, like he only has one album and like a song called Peach Scones, which is I like a lot. It's just like super cool to hear like just such a different sound. And, like he's more of a slam poet than anything else, but like just his sound is so weird. And like I can see if people I saw a video from a guy called Afro Media who like he likes really alternative bands. Like he turned me on to Brockhampton, which I talked about before in my podcast with Luke, and we're talking about that, and like he some people like mentioning Hope Johnson to him, and he like didn't like him at all because he just found him weird, and like how his vocals were just off, and like his stick was old, and I get that, but like for some reason I just find I'm captivated with him. Hope Johnson did an NPR tiny concert, which was really good, and like the first song at least was really good. Romeo and Juliet, which is like I think my favorite song of his. Especially that performance of it is just super like. It just shows like all the sides of him, and if again I'm asking you a lot right now, but just Hobo Johnson, just look him up and just experience a weird guy that's like nothing else. I think that's why I appreciate him the most. I always like just weird. I never really like things that are just normal. Like let's see, I have oh my god. Like I'm with my class in digital media production, which I know a certain someone, Ria, will really appreciate me talking about. Just talking about my first film I did in digital media, which is basically is a terrible, terrible thing. But like the lady when we were sitting down, like, oh yeah, we did like a few like grab bag things, like, oh, introduce yourself. Basically, it was basically the first project was like learning how to use iMovie and like transitions and whatnot. So we just had to do like a about me thing where like still images about things we like and like trying to connect them by actual logic. And we did that first, and like our first film was just basically just us completing a shot list, i.e. high angle, low angle, wide, medium, close, extreme close up, full, pan, tilt, all that jazz. We had to make a story with just using those shot types, like all of them. And it's like, while people were doing like some weird like simple stories and whatnot, like my friend Ria just did like a whole like guy sleeping in the library and like a guy wakes him up. I had an idea for like a stressful chase scene. Like I had like a whole thing of like how it ended up was like I gave a guy this starts with like the main character who ended up being Ria, peeing around like at end of a hallway and like having a folder and like being chased by this one dude, and like super close up and like a cutting back and forth shot that was like stress and then like it just I eventually I put it in what happened was and when I have all my shots done, I just ended up we go into the YouTube audio library and find like free tracks that we can actually use, and I ended up finding this weird like upbeat piano thing that's like more fit into Tom and Jerry, and so I ended up doing that, and I ended up making the entire thing in black and white, and I just called it something pretentious, literally something pretentious. That's what I named it. I have like a bunch of credits that like mean nothing and like a whole bunch of crap. So that was fun, and like learning how to express myself in a way. And I think that's connected to that is just like me being like the connection there with Hope Johnson is like just being unabashedly yourself. It's so like such a style of like me being me. It's just I don't know. most people, like I said before, describe things that I make as just being super me. And I feel like that falls into it with the whole like, because I really love Buzz Keaton, so like I use the whole film noir filter. They have a silent film filter, but I think it was too much. With the film filter and like the music and like just the general like idea of it was just super dumb and like I don't know, I just loved it. And I think Hope Johnson is like kind of like that because I identify with him a little bit. Because if you've at this point you've already seen his stuff, because you should have, you realize that he's very spastic and like has weird hand coordination. Like he does what I do, is like he has like weird movements and like he goes back and forth between emotion. I think that's why I resonate with him so well. He's just so blatantly him and nothing else. Like there's no artifice to him, and I think that's what I appreciate the most. And I think that's why I really like him. And why this week was a good week, and this was a good podcast. Besides that, I went comic shop, opened at the Palm Park Mall. Well, similar comic shop I mentioned before, Jaff. They opened up to a new store, which is beautiful. They're gonna have Dungeons and Dragons and whatnot. I was hanging there for hours waiting for my friend Rhea, who painted something. I had an idea for my character Ash, who comic book character Ash, which I'm not gonna get into because it's too late for the podcast. Basically, I gave her the idea. I sent her like the email, like, "Hey, look, is this what you want to do?" And it's like, "Yeah," and like she says, "Yee," and like she said that, and like she did it, and it was it was beautiful, of course. I didn't take a picture of it because I'm dumb, but it was a beautiful painting, of course, because she's actually talented, and it was fun. It was cool introducing like her to actual comic books, and that's what I did. I made her buy comic books basically. And it was nice. Oh god. Anyways, yeah, that was cool. And then it's nearing the end here, guys, because as you all know, I only go 50 minutes because I value your time. So I'll take this moment to say thank you to the 3 people watching this. This has been your ever gracious host, Brian Salazar. This has been the Dabble In Babble podcast. I am signing off. Please, may love be with you and love your community.